Welcome to our channel. Today, we're diving into 3 spine-chilling true horror stories that took place in schools. These tales are not for the faint of heart, so brace yourselves. We're talking about those places where we spent our childhoods, where we should feel safe, yet something sinister lurked within those halls. Get ready, because these stories are guaranteed to make you rethink ever stepping foot in a school again. Deep within the oldest wing of Northwood High, shrouded in shadows and whispers, lay room 206. Locals claimed it was haunted. They said if you listened closely, you could almost hear the echoes of a life unjustly stolen. Room 206 was once the domain of Ms. Emily Grant, a beloved English literature teacher known for her infectious laugh and genuine passion for the written word. But one cold December morning, tragedy struck. Ms. Grant was found lifeless in her classroom, the victim of a seemingly random act of violence. The police investigated, but the case went cold. Time passed, and a strange energy began to permeate room 206. Students reported feeling a cold presence, a chill that ran right down to their bones. Some even claimed to see Ms. Grant's shadowy figure hunched over her desk, grading papers as if nothing had changed. Then there were the whispers. Faint, indiscernible murmurs that seemed to emanate from the very walls. Some swore they were hearing Ms. Grant reciting lines from her favorite Edgar Allan Poe poems. One evening, a group of students decided to investigate. Armed with flashlights and a healthy dose of teenage bravado, they snuck into the school, their hearts pounding with a mixture of fear and excitement. As they crept down the silent hallway towards room 206, the temperature seemed to plummet. The air grew heavy, making it difficult to breathe. They reached the door, its paint peeling, a nameplate reading Ms. Grant hanging askew. One of the students, a football player known for his skepticism, slowly pushed the door open. The room was dark, illuminated only by their trembling flashlights. Dust motes danced in the pale beams, and an overwhelming sense of sadness seemed to cling to the air. Suddenly, one of the girls gasped. "Look!" she whispered, pointing to the chalkboard. There, scrawled in what appeared to be chalk dust, were the words, "Beware the Raven," a direct quote from Edgar Allan Poe's most famous poem. Panic surged through the group. They stumbled back, knocking over a stack of books in their haste to escape. As they fled the classroom, they could have sworn they heard a soft, mournful sigh echoing behind them. The student's story spread through the school like wildfire. Room 206 became a place of fear and fascination, avoided by students and teachers alike. Years later, the school decided to renovate the old wing, hoping to modernize the building and perhaps dispel the lingering darkness within room 206. But as soon as the workers started, strange things began to happen. Tools went missing, only to turn up in impossible places. Lights flickered erratically, plunging the construction workers into an unsettling darkness. And then, there were the accidents. One worker fell from a ladder, breaking his leg. Another sliced his hand open on a seemingly dull saw blade. The crisp autumn air crackled with anticipation as the students of Willow Creek Middle School boarded the buses for their annual field trip to Camp Tranquility. Nestled deep in the heart of Redwood National Park, the camp promised a weekend of hiking, bonfires, and spooky stories under the stars. Among them was 12-year-old Sarah, a bright and imaginative girl with a thirst for adventure. Little did anyone know, this innocent trip would soon transform into a real-life nightmare. As the sun began its descent, casting long shadows through the towering redwoods, the students gathered for an evening hike. Laughter and chatter filled the air, their voices a stark contrast to the eerie silence of the ancient forest. Sarah, always eager to explore, strayed slightly from the group, her eyes captivated by a curious cluster of wildflowers. She called out to her friends, but her voice was swallowed by the dense foliage. When she turned to rejoin the group, they were gone. Panic surged through Sarah's small frame. She called out again and again, her voice growing hoarse, but only silence met her ears. The forest, once vibrant and alive, now seemed to press in on her, its shadows twisting into menacing shapes. As darkness enveloped the woods, Sarah stumbled through the undergrowth, her clothes torn, her hope dwindling with each passing moment. Back at the campsite, the teachers realized Sarah was missing. Panic set in as they frantically searched the immediate area, their calls of her name echoing through the darkness. Hours turned into a nightmarish blur as search parties combed the woods, their flashlights cutting through the darkness, desperate for any sign of the missing girl. But Sarah was nowhere to be found. Days turned into weeks, and the search for Sarah slowly faded from the headlines. But for her family and friends, the nightmare continued. The once peaceful town of Willow Creek was shrouded in a pall of sadness and suspicion. Theories swirled. Had she wandered off on her own? Had she been abducted? Or had the unforgiving wilderness simply swallowed her whole? Then, 5 years to the day of Sarah's disappearance, a park ranger patrolling a remote section of Redwood National Park stumbled upon something chilling, a tattered backpack snagged on a low-hanging branch. It was Sarah's. Inside, they found her notebook, its pages filled with frantic scribbles and drawings, strange symbols and unsettling figures that seemed to stare back at them. The last entry sent shivers down their spines. Written in a shaky hand, almost illegible, were the words, "They watch from the trees." Chapter 3. The Cursed Locker. In the dimly lit hallways of Crestwood High School, locker number 13 stood as a silent sentinel of dread. It wasn't its dented exterior or faded paint that instilled fear, but the chilling tales whispered among generations of students. Locker 13 was cursed. Legend had it that the locker was once used by a popular cheerleader, Jessica, who tragically died in a car accident on prom night. Some whispered that Jessica's spirit, unable to move on from her untimely fate, latched onto the last object she touched, her locker. Whatever the origin, one thing was certain. Misfortune seemed to follow anyone who dared to use Locker 13. At first, the incidents were small and easily dismissed. Books would vanish, only to reappear days later, soaked and smelling of mildew. Lock combinations would inexplicably change overnight. But as time went on, the occurrences grew increasingly sinister. One student, a promising athlete named Mark, used Locker 13 at the beginning of the school year. Days later, he suffered a debilitating knee injury during a routine practice. His dreams of a college scholarship shattered. Another student, Emily, a straight-A student with her sights set on an Ivy League future, began experiencing a string of unexplainable failures after using the locker. Her grades plummeted, she suffered from debilitating anxiety, and her once bright personality dimmed. The whispers grew louder, the fear more palpable with each passing incident. Students and teachers alike avoided Locker 13, its presence casting a long shadow over the once ordinary hallway. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed these stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more spine-tingling tales. Did these stories make you rethink those late nights spent at school? Or those creepy hallways you always tried to avoid? Share your own school horror stories in the comments below. We'd love to hear your chilling encounters and eerie experiences. And who knows, maybe your story will be featured in our next video. Until next time, remember, sometimes the most terrifying monsters don't lurk under the bed, but within the very walls of the places we least expect it. Sweet dreams.